you're a first-time home buyer. One of your motivations for wanting to use Ribbon to get a deal done is that now your FHA deal or your VA deal is a cash deal. Okay.
Correct.
What kind of vetting process do you put them through up front to make sure that they can even qualify for an FHA or VA deal so that they can buy the home back from you down the road?
Great question. So again, we're not a lender, right? So we're relying heavily on you fellas to
Okay.
your pre-approval is what we're relying on, right? Yeah. So
Put the pressure on. So welcome to another episode of the Context to Contracts podcast. I am Bryan Lovell, always here with the super amazing John Jones. And
what's up, man?
What's up, buddy?
How you doing?
I'm amazing. So we got a super special guest with us today from Ribbon, Mr. David Spencer. David, welcome to the show, man.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So it's a crazy market.
It's a crazy market, David, right? So we brought you on the show to kind of walk us through what you and your company do to help promote and get more deals closed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I joined Ribbon. I thought it was a very interesting company. I spent over 20 years in the mortgage business.
Wow.
In different capacities here and there. And then I was speaking with Ribbon at one point about possibly partnering up with them, converting more of my pre-approvals, right? So
yeah,
that's kind of where Ribbon comes in. Their whole goal is to make homeownership achievable and put everybody on an even playing field, right? So, you have your in Tampa, I believe the market is like it's close to like
one of the hottest, yeah.
60% cash offers.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So not saying
we were talking about that this morning.
Cash, obviously, you fellas are in business, so
yeah.
They're doing mortgages, but the offers are cash offers. So that's been our number one priority, is to really get into that Tampa market because the need is definitely there. So we rolled out in Tampa, Orlando, and Northeast Florida, which I'm covering. Typically, it was, we had a few people getting the word out about Ribbon, but now we kind of want it boots on the ground. So I'm the first business development manager in the state of Florida for Ribbon. I actually live in St. Augustine, and our market is hot as well.
Yeah.
But just to piggyback on that, there was a Housing Wire article out, I think it was about a month ago, saying like a third of the transactions in the country last year were cash offers. So
yeah, I think, normally here in Florida, we see about 50%. I mean, that's what I've seen historically for the 15 years that I've been doing loans in this market. And it sounds like that's going up a little bit. I think, getting into the solution for Ribbon, it starts with a need. And I think the need that we have in the market right now is, one, it's hard for a buyer to get an offer accepted if it's contingent on the sale of another property, right? Sellers also are quick to pull out of a contract if there's any signs of hiccup on a financing deal, because if 3 weeks has gone by, their house is worth more than it was 3 weeks ago. They're not going to have any problems dropping a contract and going to the next person and getting that done. And I think, David, that's where some of the solutions that you guys have come to market, right?
Yeah. So Ribbon is empowering sellers, buyers, lenders, and sellers, buyers, lenders, agents, basically empowering them with cash. So the way Ribbon works is we're not a mortgage company. So we're very much not into disrupting the lender's business or the agent's business, right? We just want to be a part of their ecosystem and help them grow and just be there to educate your buyers or borrowers, right? In your case, and sellers of homes as well on the real estate side. So how Ribbon works is typically a lender or a real estate agent would introduce their clients to or their prospects to Ribbon. Ribbon basically is going to back that buyer, kind of like a rich uncle, I guess you would say, right? So taking all the contingencies off of that contract and making it a cash offer. So Credit contingencies are removed, appraisal contingencies are removed, and having to sell before you buy is taken off as well. So it truly is a cash offer with our ribbon addendum behind that contract. So always try to let them know, tie a ribbon around the contract and you're guaranteeing closing on both sides and commissions on both sides.
Yeah. What are the scenarios you're seeing often right now? And what I mean by that is, are most people going into, I want to use ribbon before I even make an offer on a property? Or is it, I want to use ribbon because I'm having some hiccups on the financing, like at the 9th hour?
So that's a great question. So primarily, we see a lot of first-time buyers, right, that are having a tough time getting that offer accepted because maybe they're FHA or VA. Actually, personally happened to a friend of mine. I introduced him to ribbon. He's ex-military, and he was having a heck of a time getting an offer accepted. So $300,000 condo, he basically signed up with ribbon. So $3,000 got him a cash offer, right? Because the ribbon fee on that transaction would be 1%. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of first-time buyers, but we're also seeing folks that do want to, move before they sell, right? So maybe get that house top dollar that they can out of that house by replacing the screens or doing whatever they have to do. Maybe they have 5 kids and 2 dogs and just don't want to go through the hassle of actually showing that property every weekend. So kind of twofold. And then we do have those rescue deals where a deal is falling apart, and where ribbon may have to step in if they're maybe one of your clients loses their job 2 weeks before closing, but they automatically found a new job and have that offer letter. But I guess you need maybe 1 or 2 pay stubs under their belt to close, right? So they would rent back from ribbon in that situation, and we would sell back up to 6 months at the same exact price that we purchased the home for.
Okay. So, wow, I had never considered this for a first-time home buyer. So you just kind of blew my mind with that. And I want to, if I can go back and ask a couple of questions. So you're a first-time home buyer. One of your motivations for wanting to use ribbon to get a deal done is that now your FHA deal or your VA deal is a cash deal. Okay.
Correct.
What kind of vetting process do you put them through up front to make sure that they can even qualify for an FHA or VA deal so that they can buy the home back from you down the road?
Great question. So again, we're not a lender, right? So we're relying heavily on you fellas to
Okay.
Your pre-approval is what we're relying on, right? Yeah. So
put the pressure on.
So you'll have a realtor. So a consumer cannot come directly to ribbon, right? You have to either be working through a lender or a realtor that is, you can invite them to be signed up and do business with us, right? But you can't come in just as a consumer wanting to take advantage of, using ribbon's cash offer. You have to be synced with an agent or a lender. So with that being said, typically the realtor is the one that's going to pitch it or present it to her buyer, right? Maybe she has a buyer or even on the listing side, right? So the realtor creates an account in Ribbon's website, just basic information, your MLS, your name, and then they have a buyer that they're working with. So they enter in that buyer's info into their Ribbon portal, and then they're going to upload that buyer's pre-approval letter. So anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million, because we go from $100,000 up to $1 million purchase price. Anything from $500,000 to $1 million, we're going to reach out to that lender and actually, talk to you about, hey, we're assets, income, credit, everything looks good on this transaction. But yeah, we're gonna rely on that pre-approval and issue buying power. That's what we call it. So whatever your pre-approval is, say it's $300,000. That's what we're going to issue as far as buying power goes. Now that realtor can start shopping for properties because she knows what their buying power is, which is based on your pre-approval. Mm-hmm. Now they can actually start uploading properties. So if it's a Friday afternoon and they know they're going to show 5 houses on Saturday morning, they can go into that borrower's account, upload those 5 properties and request max ribbon valuation on each of those 5 properties. So we're going to disclose, here's what we feel this property is valued at based on the market. We have ex-appraisers on staff. And then, hey, if you are going to rent from us or have to rent from us, whether you planned on it or not, here's what your monthly rent's going to be on that property. Now they can go out and start placing offers on these houses.
Okay. What's the max time that a borrower has to buy the property back?
6 months. 6 months is the max time. So you have up to 6 months. And at the end of those 6 months, if they stay full term for 6 months, we're going to sell it back at the same price that we purchased it for.
Wow.
And what do you use for rent factors when they're renting back? Let's say assuming they're renting for 6 months.
So the monthly rent is typically about 0.70% of that purchase price. And it is prorated. So if they need the month of, if they need a month and a half, we collect it on a monthly basis, but we would credit them back 2 weeks.
So on a $300,000 home, we're talking $2,100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. Man, so
what's the percentage that aren't able to get there? I'm just curious. Do you guys have follow through? You obviously have some folks that probably maybe lose their job, halfway through this process and can't qualify.
Yeah, it's a small percentage.
Okay.
80% of our business, literally, the borrower or the buyer closes with their company with their lender as planned on the date that they had planned on. So that's really a big chunk of our business.
Okay, so what I just heard you say is you give them what they need for it to be a cash offer, but they don't ever actually use your cash. They close with financing.
Most of the time, and that's ideally what we would like to do, right?
And the cost is, you just said 1% of the sales price. So again, on a $300,000 home, it's 3 G's.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So you're giving them, let's say 30 days, right? It costs you $3,000 and you get financing, you close and move on. And in the event that financing for whatever reason doesn't happen, you're able to still close with cash.
Yeah. So David, do you guys take your fee at closing or do you take it up front?
So up front, when the agent submits that offer or collects that EMD, that's actually when the ribbon fee is going to be held at title. So the title company is going to hold on to that. And then basically, so what we would do is, so we charge anywhere from 2 to 2.75%, right? Up front being held, okay? So 2.75% gets held with the title company of the purchase price. If they close with their lender as planned, we only charge 1% and we credit them back 1.75. If Ribbon has to step in and purchase the property, we use the 2.75 towards the closing costs.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've got a question. Let's say the property doesn't appraise. How do you handle that? Is it just the deal's done, or do you continue to allow them to close? Is there a range that you'll let them close and get financing down the road?
Yeah. So say you have a home that's, let's just say $300,000 home. The contract. The listing price, say, is $290,000. Ribbon values that property at $300,000. The realtors execute the contract, the buyers and sellers, at $300,000. Now that it's time for the appraisal to come in. Appraisal comes in at that $290,000 listing price, where they thought it was what they listed it for originally, but we're at $300,000. So what happens is Ribbon actually. We request the agents to lower that price down to the appraised value of $290,000, but then at closing, Ribbon is going to make the sellers whole at the closing table and disperse the sellers $10,000 to make up that $10,000 gap.
Okay.
That's how it is right now. So
So essentially, the buyer
markets,
still needs the $10,000 though. Right? You're not giving up $10,000 out of the kindness of your heart. Correct?
Yeah.
So that basically the funds have to come from the buyer, but I'm assuming in their case, they don't care what the source of funds are of that 10 grand.
So at this point in the state of Florida, we're eating that $10,000 as a company.
Oh, wow.
Whereas in other markets, we've rolled out a different program, which is kind of a appraisal protection. You can either protect now or pay later kind of thing, a now or later program.
Okay.
The later is going to be selling the home or doing a cash out refi. That's when you would pay ribbon back. But at this point in Florida, we haven't rolled that out yet. So we're kind of, right now we're actually eating that gap.
Ooh, that's going to get expensive, my man.
Yes. But 80% of those deals are at 1%, right? So
Yeah. And it sounds like, from the conversation we've had so far, although most people are using ribbon to make a cash offer, they're actually financing at the closing table.
Right.
They're financing at the closing table. Okay.
And that's exactly right. So they're basically going to ribbon to have that cash offer and that addendum attached to it. It comes with a 3-page addendum. It's got a proof of funds letter, and it has a cover letter that explains ribbon, as well as the account manager reaches out to that listing agent and says, hey, this is who ribbon is. This is our purpose. And it's a good thing to have on your listing. Trust me.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you guys are starting to get a name in the market. So I think agents are starting to become familiar with this process, and as more and more transactions like that happen, I think that will continue. John, one of the things that I wanted to say real quick, it came back to me, was, so in a mortgage transaction, if the deal closes in April, their first payment isn't until June. They're skipping a month's payment, the buyer, right? The borrower. So when you think about it, if Ribbon is charging 1% to make that a cash offer, and the buyer's got to come out with that money anyway, and they're skipping 1 month's payment, depending on what the difference is between the 1% and what their PITI payment is, they're probably not set back a whole lot financially.
Correct.
If that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, other than rent, you're collecting what? It's 2 3/4 you're collecting in that situation.
If Ribbon has to close,
yeah. So it's
if Ribbon has to close, right. Yes. But I'm talking in the event that they actually finance the deal at closing and pay Ribbon the 1% fee for it being a cash offer.
Yeah.
Right. They don't end up too far behind.
To win a deal.
They end up not being too far behind actually financially. Cool. So let's switch gears. We've been talking a little bit about the let's make this a cash offer. Let's talk about the rescue deal scenario real quick. So this is, hey, something happened at the 11th hour that we can't get the financing done. Seller is like, yo, I got 4 backup offers right behind yours. We're supposed to close Tuesday. We're not waiting till Friday. We call in Ribbon to help rescue that deal. What's that look like for us, David?
That actually, that's something that if Ribbon hasn't been a part of the transaction from the beginning, we would need at least a 2-week heads up on something.
Oh, wow.
like
Okay.
that to come in and rescue.
Yeah, and probably you want to find out what the issues are with the borrower that they can't close with financing. Right at that point, you want to make sure that your deal is going to amount to a deal within the 6 months.
Sure.
If we're not able to get
Don, that's right. That's spot on, because we're not out to own real estate. We want to be sure that they do have.
It's our job to do the rescue deal.
Hey, listen, we don't want to own real estate either.
You guys approach it like an insurance, right? You're protecting the borrower. Hopefully they can win deals. I'm curious, like right now in the state of Florida ballpark, how many transactions do you do a month or a week? Do you have any numbers on that?
I mean, as a company, we did over 700 last month. Transactions. I don't have the actual breakdown of what was the 1% versus what we closed or anything like that. But we're the word is definitely getting out there. I mean, our whole mission is to get more families into homes and less Wall Street into neighborhoods.
Amen for that. And what states are you licensed in currently? Or do you operate
Well, we're growing right now. We started in North Carolina, made our way south. So through the Carolinas, through Georgia, over to Alabama, Texas, Florida. So we're kind of the plan or the goal is to kind of double in size this year, I guess, as far as our footprint goes. We're in Ohio now. We are in St. Louis. So, yeah, we have an expansion team that's working on that, and I couldn't give you the exact number of how many states we're exactly in right now because it seems to be changing often, but we're probably in around 15 now, and we plan on branching out even more. So.
And what about specifically the state of Florida? Are you in all regions or major cities? Like Fort Myers, for example, or South Florida?
So we are not in South Florida. We are in Northeast Florida, Jacksonville, St. Johns County. We are in Greater Orlando market, as well as Tampa down to Sarasota. So I'll email you over those county, a list of them so you can have them.
Okay, cool. John, what else we need to know?
We need them down in Fort Myers and maybe South Florida, and they probably want to stay away from South Florida, right?
Well, I mean, South Florida market gets a bad name because 15 years ago there was a fraud there. Yeah. So David, I was just saying, like, South Florida gets a bad rap because 15 years ago there was a lot of fraud there. I don't know that that's a whole lot of the case anymore. I mean, maybe it is, but certainly not like it was 15 years ago. But I think those are great markets to be in, and I think one of the things that helps out a company like Ribbon is home appreciation going up so much, right? So even if they do get in a position where they're going to own this home, it's not a bad situation to own it, right? And I think, especially, I mean, we talked, I talked to a loan originator in our company who does quite a bit of volume, over 25 million a year, mainly purchase. Said his average loan amount for this year, for Q1 year over year, up $100,000. Right.
I don't doubt it. Yeah.
And listen, trust me, he's not fishing in a different pond all of a sudden. Yeah. That's just how much home prices have appreciated. But as a company, for us, ours is up over $35,000. That's nationwide. Wow. Year over year. So it's just
something else.
It's skyrocketing.
Yeah.
So, David, are there any other scenarios where Ribbon has a value proposition or can help folks win more deals or rescue deals?
I think they're looking into that. Leadership is looking into some other programs that are going to definitely be exciting to get out in the marketplace, but I don't really have those details right now.
At the beginning of this, you talked about a home seller with an existing home, and let's say they don't want to have a contingency on buying the new property. What does that look like for them as far as you buying or taking out that existing home?
Yeah, so if they're a qualified buyer, because we do need that pre-approval, right? So if they have that pre-approval, but if they know up front that they're gonna have Ribbon close, then you set up that closing date. I mean, we're going to need to have that appraisal in for the financing eventually to happen. But it would just be set up like Ribbon, you close on April 30th, Ribbon's going to close that transaction for you. And then you're going to rent back until you can list your current house and get it up to par to where you can get max value for that property. So that happens often, buy before you sell. So it's something that.
So now, not only are you not contingent on the sale of a property, you're a cash offer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in that situation.
On a new purchase, it's all cash, right?
Yeah. Yep. So, cool.
Yeah. I like.
So the listing agent knows. So when you have Ribbon involved, so we require a 7-day minimum inspection period, right? So that's during the time where the buyer can either back out or move forward. So once that inspection period ends, that's when Ribbon commits to purchasing that home. So regardless of the buyer walking away or financing falling through, we're closing on the date that seller expects to sell their house.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I like that. That's huge.
Anything else, John, we need to cover?
I think we picked some great information, man.
Hey, David, have we asked you everything that we need to ask you?
Yeah, I think really, if you want to really set some time aside, we can go through an overview of the product. Just my PowerPoint, we can talk about that. If you want to get a group together to learn a little bit more, to do a deeper dive on Ribbon, I'd be happy to do so.
Sure. Okay. And so I'm assuming we have David's contact information. We'll make sure we have it in the description of of the podcast too. But hey, man, thanks for coming on and dropping some knowledge on us.
Hey, fellas, I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on. Sorry
program.
about the audio issues here.
It'll come out great on our end. So, on behalf of John, on behalf of David, I'm Bryan. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Contacts to Contracts podcast. And if there's anything that you need, please know we're always here to serve.